Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hey, Sophia. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, well, thank you for agreeing to have a chat with me.
No worries. So we have not crossed paths.
We have not.
That's really interesting. So there's another Sarah Willis who's in my network. And
oh, wow.
She's blonde, I think purple belt.
And I'm a purple belt as well. So it's just.
Yeah, that's why I was just like, nice to hear from you. How's everything going? Yeah.
I got a doppelganger out there.
Yeah, you really do. It's crazy how you can meet someone that's just like you. It's crazy.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So, I just want to, I guess, dive right in. For our listeners, tell us, who you are and a little bit of your backstory.
Okay. Well, my name is Sophia McDermott, and I think a lot of people know me as being the first female from Australia to receive a black belt. So that's pretty cool. I did my time competing too back in the day. I don't compete anymore, but did some good stuff there. Mm-hmm. So my focus really now is just really building up women in the community and giving back. And I think that being that competitor can be really selfish. You've just got to have that hyper-focused eye of the tiger. And I get it. I was that as a gymnast. I was that as a jiu-jitsu competitor. But for me, it didn't sit well. It just didn't feel right. And then I found my place as just really building up things or being available, mama bear, whatever, for women in jiu-jitsu. So that's where I'm at now, and that's what feels right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
about to say, because I know you are I think you have the most irons in the fire I've seen as far as being involved with teaching and leading women in jiu-jitsu, from camps to the online program with Lethal Ladies, to just the on the ground in the gym training people too. So how on earth do you, and on top of all of that, you also do fitness training and stuff. So how do you keep all that going?
Oh, I know. I don't really stop. Well, I do, but I work at a really intense pace and I block things. I do things in blocks so that I can actually have some downtime or get adequate sleep. So, added to this is that I'm a single mom.
Oh, wow.
So I have two beautiful girls and, I'm raising these girls as a single mom, and my whole family is on the other side of the world. So it's really just me. But you create systems and you make it work. So I have got things very much scheduled, right? So, but I love it. I love the fitness side of things, and I'm planning on really growing that. But right now my focus is the jiu-jitsu. And yes, I have the online community, and then in-person events, lifestyle camps, seminars, and stuff like that. So, yeah, it does keep me busy.
For sure. Mm-hmm. I know last weekend, wasn't it, you had a retreat in Las Vegas, I believe it was?
I did, yes. Boy, it was fabulous. What an incredible, cohesive group of women. So I'm a big believer in what you put out is what you get back. Vibes, like attracts like, law of attraction. So for quite a long time, I've just been putting out this vibe of community, building each other up. And I have zero tolerance. I mean, zero tolerance to bitchiness, cattiness, competitiveness between women, like when it's off the mat, like I will not tolerate it. And I think because I emanate that vibe and I'm working hard on cultivating that idea or culture, the women come to me who vibrate on that same level. So These retreats are so good because of that. So all the right women come, and then it's this acceptance and support and love, and it's amazing. And these camps aren't good because it's me. These camps are good because it's the ladies, right? I just happen to provide the activities, and you know what I mean? But it's them, and so they recharge me as well. I need it just as much as they do.
That really, I think you just pointed out something that, I've had Miss Shama on the show from Girls and Geese, and talking about putting again those big events. But I think you just hit something that just really can make or break an event. It's the people who come. If there is that, bitchiness, cattiness, off the mat, on the mat, certainly. I mean, that can taint a whole event, a whole experience.
It really can. And, while you're saying this, the phrase going through my head right now is one rotten egg can spoil the batch. And, look, nothing can be perfect all the time, right?
No.
But I think the thing is what us women need to be so mindful of is creating a supportive culture. And if there is that competitive, catty, insecure, bitchy person, and I should say it the other way around, all of that is because of insecurity, right? All of it. The more we work to just uplift and support, that will dissipate. Does that make sense? And it might take a bit of time, but that's what we're doing. And they'll either be complete loners or they'll change because they realize there is the love and support around them. But I've studied this. I'm intrigued by this idea. I'm very interested in the battle of the sexes in a way of psychology and behavior in the workforce and in training, because it's actually the same thing. Like what happens for like a woman working her way up to be a CEO in business is pretty much the same as what happens in jiu-jitsu. It's a linear hierarchy, okay? You work your way to get to the top. Let's look at the belts. It's the same linear system, right? In this linear patriarchal model that we are living in, unfortunately, women have had to try and make it work. But it's not our default setting. It's not how we thrive. We thrive in a collective. We are circular. There is no start. There is no end. And it's one reason why in all my seminars, all my events that I teach all the time, we always make a circle. There's no one at the top. There's no one at the bottom. And so this is how we thrive. And for older times, the women in the village raising babies, just this is how we work best. So because we're stuck in this linear hierarchy, women feel like they need to like work their way up. And if it means chopping other women down, pushing them down, all of that stuff, they'll do it as long as they can have a place, that they're somebody, that they're important, they're acknowledged, right? Because no one wants to be the bottom feeder, the bottom. And, we see that in society, but that's also that white belt beginner that no one wants to roll with because they're a spaz. You know what I mean? Like, so this is what women do to try and find a place. And so where I come in is you have a place. So this might be the way the world works, but in my world, this is how the world works. And it's all inclusive. You're always accepted. You do not have to fight your way to get some kind of recognition. And I do not care what you have around your waist. I do not care where you're from. I do not care about any of that. If you want to be a part of this, then you're always welcome. That's it.
That's such a healthy, and just jiu-jitsu, yes, very healthy for jiu-jitsu, but then in life, that perspective is so much healthier than that. Like you're talking about that, trying to do whatever it takes to, and
get to the top. Yeah.
Right.
And it is destructive. I mean, let's look at corporate world or these massive, massive companies where they'll just I don't know, they don't care. They'll just do whatever it takes to get more money and more. And it's not a way where people can thrive collectively.
Right.
So don't get me wrong. I'm all about hard work and achievement, right? If you earned that black belt, you've earned that black belt. But within that of achievement and hard work, we need to have like that bigger scope of just general support, and for the men and women, so I think things are shifting. I think that I'm talking hippie because I'm a huge hippie.
It's all right.
The feminine energy is coming in more, and it's been coming in for like the last 5 years, where feminine is being acknowledged. So right before that, if you look at language, anything feminine was considered like it was a insult or a downgrade. Oh, don't be soft. You're crying like a girl. You're running like a girl. Or you're a sissy. You know what I mean?
I do, yes.
I'm assessing the language and how people speak. And I'm like, wow, everything that's considered weakness is feminine, and everything that's considered strength is masculine. But things are actually changing now. Like even language is starting to change. So there's this acceptance now of feminine and strength being linked in the same sentence and being together, right? So it's happening. This shift is happening.
Yep, it's happening, and slowly but surely, I think part of it too, it's just we're recognizing that, especially don't cry when you said that. That's always a flag for me, is that now there's conversations about emotions, mental health, getting support. That's no longer weak. And so that whole side of people, both male and female, it's like, oh, emotions can be a strength. They don't have to be crazy woman over there, right?
There we go. Yes, that's exactly it. And so, yes, we are getting in touch with our emotions, and we are seeing the importance of all of this and looking at it for living in a healthy way rather than, you're being all girly, that's not the idea anymore, is it? So yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So I know you have 2 little girls. Again, that's a whole other level to your life, right? And how do you try to instill that confidence and that camaraderie with your girls, and how you raise them? And are they in jiu-jitsu? All those sorts of wonderful things.
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. So I firmly believe that your actions speak the loudest. So you can be a parent, you can say, do this. If you want to be successful, do this. But at the end of the day, what they see is how you live your life on a daily basis, and use that as an example. So, right, I do say stuff, and I end up lecturing my girls about the ways of the world, kind of like what I've just done now, share with them concepts that, people in their 20s would just be like, what? I've always spoken to my kids like they're adults. I don't know. It's just hilarious. Actually, the other day I walked in and they were mucking around, just being, and I'm like, girls, your behavior is just so childish. And then one of them turns and looks at me. She goes, but mummy, I am a child. And I'm just like, oh my God. Crap.
Oh, goodness.
So I live my life in I've worked hard to really live it in the most empowered state possible. And hopefully they see that. So they see mummy busy and working. They see that I have my own life. It was very important to me when raising children that they saw that I was my own person with my own needs and my own visions and goals. I think kids who grow up with a mother or a main parent figure that has no identity, that's not healthy. So, mothers who just drop everything and give everything for the kids, that the child doesn't really learn boundaries or then even to develop their own direction because they haven't seen that in the parent. Does that make sense? So I'm very much me and mummy's the boss, but I have very focused time with them. So when I'm done with my work, it's absolutely 100% focused attention with them. And, you know, they train, they do jiu-jitsu. One loves it. One's like, oh, drag. She ends up just doing snow angels in the corner. Well, she didn't okay. We're good. But really having that healthy lifestyle with the food and nutrition as well. Like my kids would jump at eating broccoli. It's like, yeah. And I pack their lunches every morning for school, and they have a hard-boiled egg and like a salad sandwich and fruit, and their treat is a granola bar. And it's funny because these other kids at this school look on, not with, it's so healthy. It's like with, I'll switch my chips for your hard-boiled egg. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, they want the healthy stuff too. So, but you know, that takes time and planning, and that's something that I'm absolutely willing to do for the well-being of my kids. So, but yeah, I really encourage them as daughters to speak up. So like speak up, don't hold back. Like being that people pleaser, that's not, my kids were speaking up if there's an issue, and, you know, not being rude and obnoxious, but yeah, it's really important. Just having their needs met and doing it from a young age.
I think that's a really good outlook, is that, you know, you want them to know what their needs are and have the ability to say something, right? You know, like that makes me uncomfortable, or I like this, I want that. And I think parenting, and, you know, I'm a teacher, so a lot of what I do is I'm not a mother yet, but so much of trying to teach something is in what you do, you know, not just the words you say. And so, you know, it's the expression monkey see, monkey do, right? And so that's the most powerful teaching tool, and I guess parenting tool as well, is what do you want your children to be strong, you know, emotionally or physically? Well, show them that, you know. Do you want them to be compassionate? Well, show them that, you know, show how you interact with others. So I think that's just brilliant insight on your part.
Oh, thank you. But yes, it's how hypocritical as a teacher and a parent would it be to say something and then do the complete opposite, or live your life in a different way. And I think that really goes on par with being a fairly seasoned black belt in this arena too. There's a certain level of responsibility, and I realize that the things I say and do really have quite an impression, and I need to do everything with integrity. So if I'm going to be saying something or saying you need to do this, try this, like I need to be walking that walk too. So a big motto of mine is don't just talk the talk, walk the walk, right? And so I just live my life with that knowledge of, I'm absolutely authentic. And I really feel that people feel that they feel the phonies and the fakes. And it's anything from like you go to teach class and you see the phonies and fakes where they're like, all right, do this, blah, blah, blah. And then they finish teaching and then they just sit in the corner and get on their phone. Clearly, as an instructor, they do not care about the students. They don't care about the class they're teaching. They don't care about actually improving the students, right? And because of this shift that we're in, like the vibes, people pick up on those vibes. You can't fake it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you go and teach, or you have a gym or a club or whatever it is you're doing, and you're all about the money and you don't care about the well-being of the students, they feel that. And guess what? The door's right there.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And I teach teenagers. So, oh, goodness, they will pick that up on a heartbeat. And so Oh gosh, the vibe is everything. You're exactly right. Your intentions, they will. I joke with my students, and I joke. Everyone in my life knows I cannot hide an emotion. I can't hide what I'm thinking, and in a way, my kids love that because they said we never have to wonder what's going on, Miss Willis. I said, "Yep, you know."
That is so great. Yeah, it is interesting because I remember 10 years ago we couldn't have had a conversation about vibes and energy and emotions. Like stuff's really shifted. And I remember working my way up in jiu-jitsu, and there were black belt men, not a lot of women, but black belt men that the jiu-jitsu world idolized because they were killer competitors and they'd won a bunch of stuff. So I remember these guys doing seminars and opening gyms, and this worshipping, this idol thing going on. And because I've always been able to feel vibes, like I'm a hardcore empath. Like I feel everything the moment I walk into a room. Like I can't go to Walmart or DMV or a hospital. Like I actually just can't go there.
Well, DMV is just a soul second place. I mean,
yeah, right. So, but it's, do you know what I mean? Like, so you said soul sucking, so you feel it right away. So I was born like that. I'm always like that. I pick up things. And so I already had a feeling, right? But then stuff starts coming on where it's like, there's an abuse of power with these black belt guys, because they're in this situation where people are automatically idolizing them because of what they've won, not about who they are. And so there's like, now things are different. That happened then. So now it's actually about who you are. Does that make sense? So yes, you can be a multiple time world champion. Yes, you can have won a whole bunch of stuff. You can be just an exceptional athlete. But if you are a douchebag of a person and your vibes aren't right when you're teaching, or you open a gym and you only care about the money, guess what? You will not be a successful business person or a practitioner. You will not have the business. You will not be asked back to teach or at those gyms or whatever it is. So that shift is something that I absolutely love, because it's now dissipating that whole vibe of, in the earlier days, so much that black belt abuse, I'd say. Really, there was an abuse of power, and and now it's shifting. It's not tolerated.
And I think part of it too, in the earlier days, perhaps, maybe it was that jiu-jitsu wasn't as popular as it seems that it is now. So students, because, schools, it is a business, there's now more in the marketplace. So if they don't like, the instruction, the instructor, the vibe at this particular school, well, chances are there's another one not too far away they could go to instead that may be checking off all those boxes too.
Totally. There's more options. But interestingly enough, because of this black belt idling worship and I'm this person, so I demand respect thing, and it's still going on, but it's less, right? There's this loyalty, like undivided loyalty, and that's part of my pet peeve. So you just said, well, business, there's more businesses opening. So I actually have these chats with my ladies, and I'm like, look, this is not working for you. This is not working for you. He's done this, this, and this, and this. Okay, this is the dodgy coach, right? I said, what you're forgetting, you're all tied up and caught up in loyalty because that's the way he set it up, because of his desire for power and control. What you're forgetting is that this is a business and you are a paying customer. And if you are not happy with the service, you can go somewhere else. this is America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never a place where you have the amazing freedom to go and choose this sort of stuff. America's it. So do not forget that. And so that's part of this indoctrination, this worshiping, this automated loyalty stuff, where it's like if you're going to leave that gym, you're riddled with guilt and doubt, and you're called that traitor and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so this is a lot of things that I deal with and a lot of stuff that comes my way, unfortunately, because in the early days, a culture was set where you could just, win some tournaments and then open a gym or whatever. There was the opportunity for the abuse. I'll just label it abuse, really, but it's just control and all sorts of stuff. And so now, because of that underlying stuff, women in my circle are subjected to that. And that's where I come in with my community and my seminars and women's workshops. It's building exposure and knowing that they do have options. And if stuff's not working for them with their male instructor because it's a toxic, controlling environment, then they can go online or they can shift gyms, or it's like, let's not make it such a big deal because they do have choices. And that's where I come in and just help ease it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great way for me to kind of transition into asking you about Lethal Ladies. I know one of my friends, I'm in Mississippi and there's a lot of small towns. And so we can't just a lot of times up and move a gym. And sometimes, you may be the highest, ranking female there, and you need a female to be teaching you. And so that's where your program for my friend has come in, and she just loves it and has been one of your Lethal Ladies for quite some time. So,
oh, cool. Yeah. So I started Lethal Ladies. Well, actually it was called something else, but it's been sort of changed and it's grown. And so, but basically a women's only online community group. And I started it back in 2020 when the pandemic hit and all gyms shut down. I was running the program, the jiu-jitsu program at the UFC where I live. So that was really great. I did that for about 4 years. And that was interesting because when I'm deviating, but
that's fine.
I got the position to teach there were a lot of like knuckleheads and the no-gi guys that just wanted to smash it out and do MMA. And so I'm like, all right, guys, let's put on a gi. We're going to learn some techniques. And they're just like, what's this? We just want to like ground and pound. I'm like, okay. And it was just interesting because what happened over that time was some of them like, oh, okay, I actually see that like these techniques are really helpful. So they put on the gi and then they just fit right in. And then some of the other guys left, they're like, this is not for me. But you know how like attracts like and right vibes. So I created this culture that was very technical based and very supportive. In the end, there were as many women attending as men. It was 50-50. Wow. And all the men were just so supportive of me as a coach and of the other women who train. So the culture can be created. It's just where we decide to head the culture, right? So this is why we need more women in leadership positions, which essentially is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But okay, so deviating for those who are listening to this or I'm jumping around. Lethal Ladies. So then, UFC shut down and then I started online. So what was happening was that people were doing like underground training.
I'm guilty of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we all need our jiu-jitsu fix, right?
We do.
But what was coming my way to a concerning level was that because it was unregulated, undercover, which created these tight niches, the garage training or underground training created a bro fest. Now, the bro fest isn't particularly welcoming to women, generally speaking. Now, don't get me wrong. There were plenty of places that provided supportive training for women and just kept on going with that great vibe. Okay. But But where there was acceptance for women to train in gyms, for example, when everything shut down and the underground training started, it may have shifted where there were mostly guys and maybe one girl, and it wasn't so accepted for women. So horrible stories started coming my way. And I'm like, oh, God. I mean, you just use your imagination, right? So I'm like, we got to do something. So I started an online thing, and it was a safe space for women to train, basically. They were training in the comfort of their own home or in their office space or gym or wherever it was. They were safe and they could still learn. So they were guided by me as a female instructor, and we drilled and workshopped and practiced stuff on our Barry. Barry's a custom-made stuffed training dummy, and he's freaking awesome. It's funny because a lot of the ladies in my community, they have pets, and Barry just draws the pets in. Like they've sent me of like, the gorgeous puppy coming in and just dropping the ball at Barry's feet, who's sitting in the chair, and because the puppy wants to play fetch. That's just crawling up and sitting on Barry's lap. It's so great. God.
COVID was an odd time for the life of a house pet. It really was.
Yes. It's like, oh, why are we surrounded by people the whole time now? But yeah, look, the 2020 was an interesting year for so many of us, but a chance to reset our lives, actually. So, so it started off going back to Lethal Ladies as this safe place to train. And I was also just doing a lot of workouts. And this was just me doing, I wasn't charging for the workouts. It was just, come join me. You want to break a sweat? Let's work out together. And this was almost every day I was meeting people to do workouts. And what I realized was people needed structure. Because everything just went, like you didn't need to clock in for work. There was no jiu-jitsu class to go to, school drop-offs and didn't exist anymore. So people were craving structure. And so as the time went on and the pandemics really sort of settled down, I still realized that what people wanted was structure, guidance in a loving way, right? And just informative instruction. So that's why my business has kept going, even though people have gone back to their gyms. Yeah. So.
No, it's a wonderful program. I think it hits so many needs in the community of jiu-jitsu, especially for females, just because, again, there may not be a very large amount of females for a woman to learn from. There may not be a senior level female instructor. And, I love my coach. He's great. And he does his best to, when he rolls with me, I'm trying to roll like, I'm a 135-pound woman, but he's not. And so the things that, he can easily sit up, push me off or something like that, I'm probably not going to be able to do that. And so I feel like your program really gives those keen insights into what's going to actually work. What do we need to really be doing as a woman in this position?
You're spot on, Sarah. That's exactly it. So this is a program. Firstly, it's a community group that anyone can join. And it's all like-minded women. Like I said, the culture's essential. So every woman in this platform is just an incredible soul. I'm so grateful. So there's that. And we can chat about things between us women that happen on the mat or just the culture or in the community, and so that's, if we don't feel comfortable bringing stuff up with a male instructor or chatting to the guys in the gym about this is where we can do that. So there's the stuff that happens on the mat, but not necessarily mid-roll or whatever, right? So that's an important part. It's jiu-jitsu lifestyle. But then the other part is a technical aspect. And I don't just go, all right, we're gonna learn Kimura and Americanas from here. Okay, so I've just put out a really simple example. What I do is be like, okay, well, he's like this and he's super strong, and there's no way that you're going to be able to move his arm because he's strengthening it out. So let's look at transitions where he maybe rolls onto his side and gives up his other arm so you can do another submission from there instead without forcing it. Or if he goes flat on his back to defend, then you have the Kimura. Or do you know what I mean? So what I look at is scenarios and situations that come up specifically for women repeatedly that aren't necessarily addressed in a co-ed gym because it's not happening to the guys, and ways that we can work on getting submissions or sweeps or working escapes that are within the situation that we are constantly faced as women on the mat. Yeah. So there's the membership, right? And they can join me for the live classes, but there's also courses, and the courses that I've been filming and releasing slowly as we go are freaking awesome because they're not just your usual instructionals. They're how to roll with men, things that you need to know before you step on the mat. Transitions and movement, like so that you're not muscling submissions, right? Escapes using your legs rather than pushing with your arms. Like, so it's very, very specific stuff.
And it's very, I would like to say very applicable, not only just for when you're rolling with a guy, but sometimes I'm rolling with some girls that are way outside my weight class, and it applies to that as well.
Yes. And, these women that have great pressure and they're strong, boy, they're hard to deal with, right?
Yes.
So, regardless, we need proper framing, making sure that we don't get hurt, right? If you're sitting at 120, 130 pounds, this is absolutely a priority, our safety. So proper framing, regardless if you're training with a killer woman or a heavy man, but the role is different anyway. Like I find if you're rolling with a man who's not using his weight on you, like a big guy, right? And then you're rolling with a woman who is half the size, let's say, but putting all her weight on you, it's still a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So my advice is for all women for their learning is to seek out as many women as you can to just get some training in. And if there's not many women at your gym, then do these Girls in Geese events with Shama or women's only seminars that some of us ladies are putting on. I'm heading out to California soon and then Blue Springs and then, I don't know. I just got back from Caribbean and Bahamas, so it was pretty freaking amazing. Teaching jiu-jitsu and self-defense on a cruise. But
that's awesome.
It's incredible, actually. But seek out women training partners and then women-specific techniques and other women in your community, because that's what's really going to help you thrive in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, for sure. I know it's really just a blessing. And I know that there's been in the history of jiu-jitsu, it's been a hard-fought battle for women to get to prominence, to get those black belts, to get into leadership positions. And so I know that my kind of upcoming class, so to speak, we're the recipients and the beneficiaries of all that wonderful hard work that you've put in. And it's just, I'm very, very grateful for that, for sure.
Oh, thank you. The word that often is said to me, well, I don't say it, but it's said, is that I'm a pioneer in jiu-jitsu. Now, there's ladies who started before me and got their black belts before me and all that stuff too. So hats off to them. They helped pave the way for me. But I think the decision that I've consciously made is to actually break barriers on every aspect. And that's why I brought up at the start, the analogy also of business and being that CEO. So I was the athlete and I broke those barriers to become Australia's first female black belt. And boy, the crap that I got getting there, or when I first started, was pretty huge. The highest ranking female at that time was a blue belt. And there were only about 3 black belts in the whole country, male. So just to be a female black belt at the time was just completely ludicrous. And I remember people laughing at me and I think it was just crazy.
Yeah.
So I made a declaration. I'm going to be the first Australian female, and everyone laughed. I'm like, this is what I thought in my head. I thought, F you guys. And so for a few years, it was like, just wait, just you see, I'm going to do this. But then as I was doing my own inner work, right, the shift changed, couldn't give a shit about anyone else. This was all about me. And that actually, once it's internal, not external, it's so much better. Anything you do in life, really, it has to come from within rather than trying to get validation or approval or something. Right? So then in the end, it was just my journey. But so I broke that barrier, right? But then after competing and stuff, had my own things to be world champion, no-gi world Pan Am champion, whatever. Then I was like, okay, cool. I'm done. I now am moving on to the next step. I'm at a place where I need to be recognized to actually really do the work that I want to do, that I feel like, I know this sounds a bit woo-woo, but put on this planet to do. So I started teaching. And at first I was asked to teach women's workshops, small women's workshops, right? But then it expanded very, very quickly, bigger seminars. And then the men, well, why can't I come? I want to see what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. So then it turned into me going to places and teaching big seminars for men and women. Like I would teach two. One, and I was like, look, we need to have women's only still. So there was co-ed and there was women. And that to this day for the last probably 10 years, this is what I've been doing. And I'm so grateful for those amazing, progressive, open-minded men that want to learn from a women too, because these guys are helping with that shift, right? So thank you guys. So, but so then there was a shift to being a head professor, a teacher, right? A respected teacher that people bring out, or that run events and retreats and workshops and whatever. Okay, cool. And that's paving the way for other women to be in the front leading and teaching as well. So then there's a next step, and that's being a businesswoman, and that's where I'm at now. Okay, so I'm here to just show that you can be a successful businesswoman in this sport, if that's what you want, whether it's owning a gym, whether it's running an online business, whether it's running events, whatever it is. Like, this is your livelihood. This is your income. This is what puts food on the table. You can do it. This job isn't just for the men. It's for the women too. So that's this phase that I'm in. So I'm on my way. I've got my list of my like fancy white Porsche Panamera Porsche. No, look, I'm joking. Well, sort of, not really. But why not? You know, there's this stigma with money. And so like ultimately, why not become wealthy or well-to-do or whatever so that you can support your kids through college? Okay. Doing something that you love that uplifts and helps others too. That, I think, is the ultimate. I mean, making money by doing something you hate, that doesn't make sense. And then doing something you absolutely love that helps people, but you're broke the entire time, that doesn't make sense either. So I'm just trying to figure that. This is my step now that I'm trying to figure out. Hopefully we'll have sorted it out or not. I don't know. Maybe in a few years' time, if you see me driving that Porsche, we'll have the answer.
Hey, there we go.
I don't know. We'll just see. Man, I can try.
Yes. Yeah. But that's so true though. I mean, you know, if you do something that you love, it's, you know, you never really work a day in your life, they say. And it's true. You know, and if you're able to do something that you're very passionate about and that it does help others, you know, and that could be anything from healthcare, right, to, you know, teaching, which is what I do, right?
Yes.
You know, definitely different pay scales there, but, you know, it's one of those things where you have to find fulfillment and meaning in your work. And if you can make a, you know, good living doing that, that's that's what everybody's, I hope, chasing.
Well, I do too. That really is the ultimate. And so, I make fun of the Porsche, but because there is a stigma around money, and there's a stigma around money and helping people, or money and doing like good work. And so like, why can't it be both? Right. So I know a few people in my circle, or I've read about it or whatever, where there's these amazing healers and helpers, and they're just so giving, and they give, but they're themselves, they've got nothing, and they're struggling for just to put food on the table. That doesn't make sense. Like, who's going to give to these people? Who's giving to them? Right. And so there needs to be a bit of that balance. And if you can set things up in your world to have a career where it's super fulfilling to you, and it's financially, I don't know, there's a word there, good, then that's the ultimate. So that's the other part of what I'm doing in jiu-jitsu, is that if you're a black belt woman and you're going to teach a seminar, and this stuff's come my way, oh, well, Sophia, I haven't taught a lot, but I've been asked to teach, and I just didn't know how much to charge. I'm like, girl, how long did it take for you to get your black belt? 10 years. Okay, well, I'm assuming you have a pretty deep chunk of knowledge there and hard yards you put in. And, well, yeah. I said, well, so why are you undercharging? Why are you devaluing yourself? Why aren't you, putting it out there, your true worth? So, do you know what I mean? So they would set fees for like $200 for a 4-hour clinic or something. I'm like, oh my God, it's just know your worth. So that's the other thing. Know your worth from a business perspective. You've done the hard yards. Do not debase yourself and undervalue yourself. So that all ties into business and wealth and giving back. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And certainly it's travel involved too, right? And so, it's especially nowadays, it's expensive to get from point A to point B.
Yes.
So,
well, yes. And, this is the thing, like, okay, let's say a guy is asked to do a super fight, or he's asked to teach a seminar. He will unwaveringly state his price because he knows his worth. And this is the other thing. Men are more likely to overstate a little bit, right? In business too, they it's the same thing. That's why I'm always likening jiu-jitsu to business. It's the same thing. So let's say it's $1,000 for them to do a super fight, but the guy will go, oh yeah, my fee's $1,200. And he'll just do it like that. And I think it's awesome because, like, wow, the confidence, like, just put a bit more out there and see what you get back. Cool. The women, oh, I'd like you to do a super fight. What's your fee? Well, we've got this, but then I know I have to travel, and then I've got to find a babysitter, and that's going to cost me money. And then, could you do it for 300?
Yeah.
This is the reality of it. And I find sometimes I end up doing the same thing. It sucks. I'm like, Sophia, what did I just do? Us women, we need to know our worth as a jiu-jitsu competitor practitioner, as an instructor, leader, professor. We need to know our worth, and we need to lean in, and we need to state it with confidence, right? Because we keep reeling back and devaluing ourselves. We won't get anywhere personally, but also we won't get anywhere collectively as women. So, we've been living in this world where it's been male dominated or male honored. It's a patriarchal world where women have been debased for so long, but I'm not going to blame the men entirely for this. Women need to fully stand up and just own it and be no, this is my worth. This is it. Right? Because we don't stand up for ourselves collectively enough, and we don't speak up enough.
And I think there's sometimes we're afraid to be, I don't want to say afraid to be confident, but we're a little timid around that word because, well, I don't want to come off as being, arrogant. I don't want to offend somebody, because I don't know, they may be going through, we take way too much into account where it's like, no, 2 + 2 is 4. Just state it confidently.
That's exactly it. And it's ingrained in us because women are natural nurturers. All right. We are hardwired to always be thinking about other people and a situation collectively because of the safety of our offspring. Basically, that's how it works. Whereas guys are biologically wired for that single eye of the tiger, single-minded focus for like more hunting kind of. If we want to get real basics, and everyone who's part of this whole everything's equal and exactly the same, well, they'll probably hate what I'm saying right now, but it's not biological. We are wired differently. And so what women have to do when we're in this patriarchal system of jiu-jitsu and of business is we need to actually shut that down and go, no, this is me. This is my worth. This is what I want. Yep. My fee is this, or the other example that comes my way all the time. Hey, do you want to roll? No. That's it. No apology, no justification. So you see that guy is you're just feeling that spidey senses from him is not so great. And he's like, do you want to roll? And then the woman's like, oh, well, yeah. And then she gets hurt.
Yeah.
Right. And, in my time of training, I see the women accepting these roles and being like this, and then I'll ask guys to roll and they'll be like, nah. I'm like, oh, okay. It's just, that's it. There's no apology. There's no justification. So yeah, we need to shut that nurturing side of us down a little bit because of the world and the setup that we're in. So,
and I think that kind of spidey sense, that's just making me think of something I saw in the news not too long ago. That girl who was working out. Did you see this video? She was working out and there's a guy knocking on the apartment complex gym door. Okay. And she let him in. And I don't know if he was homeless or what the story was there, but he started trying to attack her. And so she fought him off and he eventually ran away. And that just makes me think, like, did she have a spidey, like in the little interview, it didn't say that she had a spidey sense, but, yeah.
Yeah, in any sort of news report or interview, I doubt they would have added that because it's still a little bit woo-woo. We're getting there. But women are born, I believe, all men are too, but women, it's more pronounced. We're all born with this intuition. It's a sixth sense. It's not explainable. That's a problem. And that's why people tend to shut it down. And I believe it is a built-in GPS/survival mechanism for women. And I think we all have it. But as little girls, it might be shut down in our childhood because it's patriarchal what we're living in. But that's our guide. I'm sure she did. Absolutely sure she had that spidey sense, but she ignored it. Oh, it's going to be okay. So just so you guys know, I mean, I can take care of myself, right? And because I train a lot. Even with my training, I still live my days in, days out with the most insane level of awareness and just we can call them backup plans, but let's say it's late at night or whatever, and there's waiting for the elevator. I'll let the guy go. I won't step in the elevator with him, stuff like that. I just won't. And I might look silly. I might feel a bit dumb at the time, or just other situations where I might cross the road and I feel it. So I'm just going to cross the road and then, nothing happens, but he might like, oh, this girl's a bit crazy. Why does she just do? I mean, I don't really care because my own safety is the most important. And we all need to be living by that code, just putting our safety first and just listening to this spidey sense thing that's there for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, I'll be interested to see if after this news report, but you know how social media is in the news cycle, it may be gone completely by next week. But I'd be interested to see if any women decide to pick up something like jiu-jitsu and that kind of aftermath of just, don't stop fighting, and that's just something. And because that's something that I've told the girls that I teach, and I've told the guys too, like, guys, come on, come try it out. I help teach sometimes, just come on. And they say, oh, well, granted, I live way away from where I teach, so I get it. Yeah. But, and they've got 10,000 activities going on as juniors. But it's something where it's just, the world is getting, it seems, crazier and crazier and more violent. And young people, teenagers, but in women specifically, those vulnerable populations to violence need to have some kind of a backup or some kind of a contingency plan that, if it hits the fan, you can at least be harder to kill or harder to kidnap, it would seem.
Totally. I really think that every single woman or teen on the planet should do at least 6 months of self-defense or jiu-jitsu training. Mm-hmm. And it's one reason why my kids are doing jiu-jitsu. When they're, 18-year-olds and off, maybe doing college or traveling, like, I know as a parent, I'll be like, okay, cool, they can defend themselves. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually teaching a self-defense little workshop next week, which will be fun. And what's so cool is this lady organized it as part of her birthday. It's one of the activities for a birthday party. So it's like the idea of learning this sort of stuff is growing, and I've been asked more and more to teach this self-defense. Mm-hmm. So, I encourage every woman to learn some self-defense. And in my Lethal Ladies, there is a free self-defense course that anyone can access as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I have just had a wonderful time talking with you.
I have too. Thank you, Sarah. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yes. And I mean, I just loved picking your brain and just getting to know a little bit more about just your amazing, career in jiu-jitsu and how you are navigating that role now as a business owner, and hopefully one day getting that white Porsche, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, no, it's all work in progress. But if what I'm doing in any way can help women start jiu-jitsu or self-defense and stick at it, B, as they work their way up, become comfortable and confident in leadership roles and teaching, and then C, speak their worth, know their worth as a career woman in their workplace that they're in, or even in jiu-jitsu, then I've done my bit.
Well, I am just hoping one day I can get out and do one of your seminars. It just looks retreats. It looks like a wonderful time.
Yes, so. Amazing. I don't know when the next one will be, but probably maybe September or something later in the year. My one that happened at the end of September last year got cut short. We were right in the eye of the storm, quite literally, with Hurricane Ian. To evacuate.
Yeah. Storm didn't. That's a good reason.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And I'm thinking, gosh, the 1 week that I chose to put this retreat on, it was that week that the hurricane hit right in the area. Like, what? Anyway, it's live. So.
Yes, it is. But well, thank you so much again for being on, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.